Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. We warmly welcome all guests to attend this charitable symposium. The title is The Mysterious Path of Mind Training. Today, we are very honored and very fortunate to respectfully invite the highly renowned Khenpo Sodargye Rinpoche to teach us. As the saying goes, those with affinity meet across 1,000 miles. Affinity is a mysterious force. We resonate with certain words, and our heartstrings are touched by certain feelings. We also gain much benefit from a lecture, right? I'd like to borrow a phrase from Khenpo Sodargye's lectures. A simple encounter can change a lifetime. Now, could all guests present please stand up? Let us, with the most respectful and warmest applause, welcome Khenpo Sodargye Rinpoche into the conference hall. Khenpo came to Taiwan 18 years ago. After 18 years, he's come to Taiwan again. The first distinguished lecture is dedicated to all our distinguished guests in Taipei. Thank you all for the warm applause. Let us thank Khenpo for coming from afar. Please be seated. Next, before the symposium begins, I need to introduce the moderator of the symposium. He is Dr. Wu Zongwen. Dr. Wu Zongwen will introduce Khenpo for the symposium.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. This auspicious gathering, I'm now very honored to be able to introduce Khenpo Sodargye Rinpoche. Khenpo was born into relatively poor circumstances. He's also our fellow Sichuanese. From childhood, Khenpo had a compassionate heart. From a young age, seeing many living beings, he couldn't bear it. Very compassionate. Later, after entering the Buddhist academy, he relied on His Holiness Dharma, King Jigme Phuntsok, as his root guru. He practiced very diligently and reached an inconceivable state, but his lifestyle remains as simple as before. I heard he's used one belt for 20 years. For 30 years, the master has worked day and night doing translation work, enormous amounts of work. He's very diligent, with writings piled high. Moreover, he applies what he learns and lectures tirelessly. From 2010 until now, domestically and internationally, Peking University, Renmin University, Fudan, as well as Harvard University, University of Washington, etc., he's gone around the world to lecture and exchange ideas. Moreover, he makes Buddhism scientific, modernizes Buddhism using language modern people can understand for exchange. Furthermore, Khenpo engages across religions with many issues. For example, world environmental issues, peace issues, issues of the vulnerable. He's very attentive, caring for foundations, caring for nature, caring for life. He also donates money for medical treatment, benefiting many critically ill patients. This time, Khenpo, in the midst of his busy schedule, has made time to come to Taiwan for a cultural tour. The first stop is our National Taiwan University. So today, everyone is very blessed, everyone is very honored. After Khenpo's 18-year absence from Taiwan, the first stop, the first lecture, is dedicated to everyone. I think everything about Khenpo is very extraordinary. I won't say much more. We'll give the time to Khenpo to give us teachings. Khenpo, please.
Today, I'm very honored at National Taiwan University in this international conference hall, together with university teachers and students, as well as scholars from the International Tibetan Buddhist Research Association, Geshes, Khenpos, Rinpoches, and other scholars, as well as the entire World Filial Virtue Cultural Association. We together embark on the mysterious path of mind training. As for me personally, I don't have any state of practice and study. Even less do I have any realized transcendent wisdom and compassion. But I very much hope to learn from many knowledgeable people, compassionate people, moral people. Therefore, I think today is a very good learning opportunity. For me, I can't say I'm giving everyone a lecture, just sharing my insights with everyone. At the same time, I especially hope everyone present will raise suggestions and ideas on all aspects. I'll also gain much knowledge from this. Actually, I indeed came to this place 18 years ago. At that time, I came here together with my master, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok. At that time, we stayed here for about a week. The entire experience was very beautiful. For me, it was unforgettable. I should say, in my memory, in my life, it was the most wonderful, most beautiful. But by today, it's also a memory. In any case, reminiscing about my master, according to Buddhist teachings, this is a kind of merit. Today, many people present are very knowledgeable, very learned. I think current society is quite restless, a rather volatile, special society. In this context, Buddhism has unique methods for stabilizing people's emotions. If we can use these methods, practice them in such a special era, our mental restlessness, anger, complaints can all completely disappear, and we can obtain tremendous happiness. This is an important matter that people especially pursue nowadays. In today's brief time, all of Buddhism's paths of mind training, I can't possibly share all of them with you here. But today, using this time, Buddhism's methods of mental adjustment, I'll share with everyone using 6 characters. Which 6 characters? What we often call the 6 Paramitas: giving, precepts, patience, diligence, meditation, wisdom. That is to say, generosity, precepts, patience, diligence, concentration, and wisdom. I think Taiwan, when I came 18 years ago, I felt the faith here was different from other places, very tolerant, free, and open. Many scholars present would all know the 6 Paramitas. This should be quite easy. But today, sharing from my perspective, I think if we excavate the 6 Paramitas with very profound wisdom, I also have no way to explain. I believe many people present may also not have completely mastered the state of the 6 Paramitas. Therefore, let's together use this time to study the 6 Paramitas of Mahayana Buddhism. This is also very necessary because Mahayana Buddhism teaches first generating the mind-seeking supreme perfect enlightenment. This is called aspiration bodhicitta. After generating aspiration bodhicitta, one should practice the 6 Paramitas. This is called action bodhicitta. Perhaps among those present, some have generated Mahayana bodhicitta. Even if you don't believe in any religion, I think the so-called spirit of the 6 Paramitas, if we integrate it into our lives, not only is there no harm, but if you can truly practice the 6 Paramitas well, whether in any country, East or West, in any ethnic group, in any group of people, if we integrate the 6 Paramitas into our lives, we should say for our life, livelihood, work, family, etc., there are immeasurable benefits and value. Therefore, I'd like to first tell everyone why I'm discussing these 6 characters today. First, the first one discussed is giving. That is to say, generosity. Generosity actually is, those present know, a kind of generous giving. In generosity, there's Dharma giving, material giving, and also fearlessness giving, these 3 types. What is Dharma giving? Actually, it's teaching others the principles discussed in Buddhist scriptures. Even any worldly education or knowledge, the knowledge we ourselves possess, we impart to others. This is called Dharma giving. Many intellectuals present now are all possessors of Dharma giving because our own truths, our own possessed concepts of compassion and wisdom, if we don't pass them on to the next generation, perhaps our coming to this world may not be very meaningful. Then what is material giving? One's own possessed wealth without stinginess under conditions and circumstances, giving as much as possible to others. This includes giving of one's body, giving of one's property. Of course, we haven't yet reached such a state. When reaching Buddhism's highest level, even giving one's own body to others, one doesn't have the slightest stingy mind. But indeed, we now have such a stingy mind. If you want to give wealth to others, there's a certain difficulty. This is called material giving. Actually, material giving is very important. Now, in all countries, all enterprises, some people possess very, very much wealth. But beside us, there are many common people, poor people, especially impoverished people. But the rich are too wealthy, the poor are too poor. Why don't these wealthy people give to these poor people? Sometimes I think, I heard that now in Africa, there are several million people who basically have no way to have livelihood security. Just 2 days ago, I went to a refugee center in Cambodia, an orphanage. Indeed, I think now many people are very wealthy in food and clothing, but they don't see these pitiful people beside them. People indeed are sometimes very selfish. There are too many people possessing wealth. They can't finish eating or wearing, every day living extravagantly. But beside us, there are still especially impoverished many people. Why don't we often give a portion to these pitiful people? It's very needed, but for many people, perhaps they don't have this mind. There's also something called fearlessness giving. This fearlessness giving, we should protect others' lives, whether human or animal. This is very crucial. Now, some people who don't understand life's value recklessly say some things. Of course, if you want to speak, anyone can freely express themselves. Speak casually. But if they stand in animals' perspective, if they themselves became animals, then life's value indeed is also a matter that must be considered. Therefore, whoever tramples on other sentient beings' lives, it shows that person's morality and character are discounted. Truthfully, now in this world, any person's life is so precious. Similarly, all animals as well. All life existing in this world possesses such value. But some people in today's society not only don't release life, they even have various opinions about some people releasing life. Of course, this also is, if observed with wisdom, I think any scholar in the world, any animal protection organization, knowledgeable people, compassionate people will clearly know all their situations. Therefore, everyone present, within the extent of your ability, whether spiritual wealth or material wealth, we should provide comfort to living beings when we have these abilities. Even if it's once or twice a year, once or twice a month, even once a day, just generating such intention, there's inconceivable merit. In this way, our lives will also become increasingly meaningful. Just like there's an American named Perot, he was the third-party candidate, should be said to be a billionaire. Why is he so successful today? He said when he was young before, his mother was especially generous. At that time, America had many homeless people. Every day, very many came to his home, and later, more and more. He asked, why recently are there so many homeless people coming to my home? These homeless people, habitually, whichever family generously gives, they make a mark at that family's door. Later, he said, because we made a mark at your door, so now many homeless people, whether at train stations or elsewhere, often come to them for food. At that time, Perot thought, this won't work. Later, perhaps our home will become a homeless people's base. He discussed with his mother, saying, we better erase the mark at the door, otherwise later there may be more and more homeless people. What should we do? At that time, his mother was very kind. She said, it shouldn't be like this. All people are equal. It's just that temporarily they don't have conditions. They encounter difficulties. When we have ability, we must help them. This sentence is very important. Later, his whole life, he used this sentence. His success today was led by his mother's this sentence. In his life, he used this as guidance. For me personally as well, indeed, his mother's words have very profound meaning. All people are equal. It's just that temporarily they encounter difficulties. When we have ability, we should help them as much as possible. This sentence, I think, indeed, some people now perhaps have problems with status. Some have problems economically, especially in the current era. I know many especially wealthy people. Today their enterprise has how many 100 millions. After 2 days, overnight, they become penniless, having nothing. Some penniless people who can't even afford food overnight suddenly become rich, themselves also very pleased with themselves. So everything in life is impermanent. There's nothing to be pleased about or arrogant about. In a very short time, it becomes like this. People present now are considered successful. At a certain time, going to prison is also hard to say. Becoming a beggar is also hard to say. Becoming a sick person is also hard to say. At such times, we should give to others as much as possible. This is the so-called first one, generosity. The second is upholding precepts. Some people may say Buddhism's ethical precepts seem very troublesome, with many restrictions, rules, and regulations, very difficult. Actually, it's not like this. The so-called precepts in Buddhism just set a direction for life, avoiding wrong paths, allowing our life's vehicle to properly and completely reach its destination. Just as a country has its constitution, an enterprise has its laws, a school has its motto or school regulations, even driving has red lights, green lights. Flying planes also has navigation. So any person, any religion, any noble person has different kinds of precepts. So these precepts, we can't view them as a kind of constraint. If people have no constraints at all, then they'd be dissolute and unrestrained. Perhaps university professors have many disciplinary rules in all aspects. For elementary school teachers, they have their own principles. Principles are what we call precepts in Buddhism. According to Mahayana Buddhism, these precepts, there are three very important types. Precepts prohibiting evil conduct, precepts gathering virtuous dharmas, and precepts benefiting sentient beings. Buddhism teaches avoid all evil, practice all good. That is to say, we should gather together as much as possible all that is virtuous, the so-called positive energy aspects, aspects of doing evil, some actions of body, speech, and mind, such as lying, stealing, sexual misconduct, as well as excessive greed, minds harming others. All of these should be prevented as much as possible. This is truly the precepts, especially according to the meaning of Mahayana Dharma. What's the most important precept? It's benefiting sentient beings. As I just mentioned, the original title was There's an Ornament Called Altruism. Later, I don't know, the school changed it, but actually this is also acceptable. I think many people in the world like various kinds of ornaments. Some girls like lipstick. I've noticed that boys in Taiwan also dye their hair red, yellow, and wear various colored clothing, especially in the current era, in our past. When I was herding yaks, some pants were worn by relatively poor people at that time, but now many young people, previously in Tibet, poor people wore pants with worn-out knees. Now many people think this is very good looking. This is a kind of ornament. Actually, all of this is very good. You can wear whatever you like, dress up however you want. As long as you have a kind of beauty, it's all acceptable. 3 earrings are fine, 4 earrings are fine. Indian people have many nose rings. Nose rings are also fine. Curling hair upward is fine. Curling it downward is fine. Any style is fine. White is fine. Red is fine. Blue is fine. Green is fine. Why is a rainbow beautiful? It has many colors. So people's hair is like this. Clothing is also like this. Especially in a free place like yours, liking various colors is all very good. But I think among all these beauties, altruism is the best kind of ornament. Truly, as long as one has an altruistic mind in Mahayana Buddhism, even if someone's words are lies, there are times when it's permissible. Even if their body has other somewhat improper behavior, if their mind is completely unconditionally altruistic, then in the process of self-sacrifice, to others it may appear some behaviors aren't very proper. In Buddhism's Hinayana, it's prohibited. But in Mahayana Buddhism, there are individual transgressions of body and speech. As long as it benefits sentient beings, this is permissible. Therefore, I think among all precepts, according to Mahayana, benefiting sentient beings is most important. Harming sentient beings is a very unreasonable kind of breaking precepts. Of course, when precepts reach the highest level. According to what's taught in the Madhyamakavattara, the person who guards precepts, the guarded precepts, and the precepts themselves, etc., all are in the 3 spheres of emptiness. Of course, such a state, I think among those present, many people perhaps, I don't know if you have it, perhaps you do. I can't say this. Perhaps many great bodhisattvas here think, I already have the highest 3 spheres of emptiness. All precepts, in a moment's thought, are in the state of non-arising. I haven't discovered this. Perhaps some have this feeling. But in any case, this is upholding precepts. Upholding precepts is actually a kind of morality. Everyone must know it's a kind of virtue. This kind of virtue was established by the Buddha over 2,500 years ago. Now, among any Eastern or Western people, all feel people need such constraints. If people have no constraints, indeed they become homeless people, so-called homeless people. For society's order, it may not be beneficial. For self-preservation, it's also not beneficial. Therefore, especially many people studying law now, just now at noon, a scholar studying law here at National Taiwan University, in the process of exchanging with him, he also felt that in current society, especially for people studying law, from his perspective and his research level, Buddhism's precepts nowadays manifest an especially unimaginable kind of function, a kind of power. Buddhism's precepts nowadays, no matter what level of people, all need to observe precepts. Otherwise, if one has no precepts at all, some people's families also become corrupt. Work also becomes corrupt. Everything is gone. Because they have no constraints. Without constraints, no morality. Without morality, then everything may not have much meaning. This is about precepts. The so-called precepts are like this. The third is abiding patience. I think actually so-called abiding patience is a kind of strong mentality. This abiding patience can be divided into three aspects. There's one kind of abiding patience in one's practice process, work process. In life, one must endure hardship. Not encountering the slightest thing, the mind starts to become fragile. The mind starts to soften, becoming painful. Some people, it seems, when encountering a little setback in life, start choosing suicide. Just now, I asked some people, in universities here in Taiwan, are there many people who commit suicide? They said, at least not. Especially here at National Taiwan University, in recent years, we haven't heard of any. I said, this is a very good thing. Now, in many universities, because of encountering a little problems in life, relationships, studies, employment, many issues, truly having no way to face them, people choose suicide. This is actually also a situation of not enduring. There's another kind of abiding patience. When others harm you, violate you, you can endure it. For example, if there's some resentful enemy who constantly attacks you, constantly criticizes you, at this time, you don't get angry. Sometimes I watch television, sometimes I watch some news. At this time, I see if your leaders want to lead, they must cultivate patience. Otherwise, many people constantly scold them, criticize them. First, look at the leader. How is their level of patience? If patience is cultivated very well, they can be selected. Otherwise, it seems many leaders aren't selected by yourselves. After selecting, start attacking them, constantly scolding until they come down. On one hand, this is very good. Perhaps speech is too free, but sometimes we also can't be too nitpicking, criticizing every small matter. This also isn't very good. I don't know if families will be like this with each other. Probably not. I believe this is an external appearance. Internally, they won't be like this toward parents. If it were like this, then even more, patience must be cultivated. This kind is abiding patience. There's also another kind of abiding patience called Dharma patience. What is Dharma patience? When we study some knowledge, others, for example, Hinayana Buddhism toward Mahayana Buddhism, or some people toward Tibetan Buddhism or toward Chinese Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, when you can't accept, you recklessly criticize them. Actually, this is, if you truly don't acknowledge other sects, first you should research. For example, if you think Tibetan Buddhism is unreasonable, you should first research, come to Tibet to debate. See exactly where Tibetan Buddhism's view, meditation, conduct, and fruit are unreasonable. You can. Tibetan Buddhist monasteries are all open. Welcome to come. Yesterday, I saw the International Tibetan Buddhist Research Association. Many very remarkable Khenpos, geshes from all major schools. Sakya School, Gelug School, Kagyu School, and also Nyingma School. I heard there's also Jonang School. These here, perhaps in language there's a little difficulty, but I think in wisdom, certainly there's no difficulty at all, because I also understand Chinese. What these people often say, I'm also very clear about. So at this time, whether you accept or not, you should use wisdom of thought to accept. If we have no reasoning, just speak. That's called a madman, not a wise person, not a scholar, not religion, not a true sect. On this point, some people now just follow what others say. Truthfully, we take truth as the standard. According to Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings, also guided by truth, not because of your sect, my sect. If I stand in a fair position, whichever sect is unreasonable, I can prohibit it. But I think overthrowing Tibetan Buddhism may not be so easy, especially now worldwide. I've also been to very, very many higher education institutions, have directly researched with many scientists. I'm actually a very small person, but higher level wise ones. You all can also learn about the dialogue between science and Tibetan Buddhism and what Tibetan Buddhism is like nowadays. At this time, I heard most people here should base themselves on their own right faith. This is very important. Otherwise, some just follow what others say, follow the crowd, having no opinions of their own. It seems wherever something is said, they follow. This also isn't quite suitable. In some, at any time, we use our own practice state to deal with when dealing. If we can't accept Mahayana's emptiness teachings, esoteric teachings, first you should understand. So this is called Dharma patience. For what we don't understand, we can't casually slander. If I don't understand Mahayana's emptiness teachings, I can't say, because I don't understand, it's unreasonable, it's improper. Previously in Indian history, there were also many such phenomena, but such is unreasonable. In life, in practice, when we encounter some difficulties, we should also adjust our mentality. Now, many people, when encountering a little difficulty in life, can't endure. Actually, especially when having individual encounters in life, for you, it's a kind of practice. Previously, during the Cultural Revolution, in Han regions, there was a woman of social standing. She started being criticized. When criticized, they shaved her head, half bald, then criticized her. Many girls originally are quite attached to their hair and appearance. When shaved, half bald, she was very angry, even wanting very much to scold them. She was a Buddhist. Another great Chan master passed her a note. It said, "Now is truly practice time." 5 characters, now is truly when you should practice. Then she endured it. Later, in her whole life, it was very useful. Sometimes we also have poor health, right? We should endure. When your life, your enterprise, any work encounters crisis, you should face it with a kind of strength. At that time, we can't every day complain, every day resent. The opportunity to practice has already arrived. For example, when your family members start scolding you, now is truly practice time. After going back, you should think this. Or when you're somewhat unhappy, you should think, this is practice time. And this is my 3rd point. Then I'll discuss the 4th point, diligence paramita. Diligence paramita, actually, in our language, is called diligence. That is to say, from the perspective of study and practice toward all worldly and transcendent matters, we should diligently study and practice. Otherwise, if you're especially lazy, some people have what's called self-deprecating laziness. People like me certainly have no way. Such laziness, slackness, relaxation is unreasonable. Yesterday, someone said, we Taiwanese people in winter also like to drink cold water. In summer, also like to drink cold water. After coming to Taiwan, you can't drink hot. You must drink cold. So they also gave me cold water to drink. Pouring cold water, dampening spirits, isn't acceptable, but drinking cold water should be fine, right? Don't dampen spirits. Pour cold water. Just now, she didn't dampen spirits. This is serving cold water. Serving cold water is acceptable. Dampening spirits is not good. Just now we said we should be diligent. In diligence, there are 3 types: armor-like diligence, actual practice diligence, and non-retreating diligence. What is armor-like diligence? From within my own heart, if studying Buddhism, like all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who diligently and effortfully attained accomplishment, I also practice and study like this. A worldly person doing any enterprise or any successful thing, others are so successful. Their wisdom, their ability, their surpassing aspects in all ways. You often say, super good. If they're so powerful, I should also learn from them. From within one's heart, donning a kind of armor, this is called armor-like diligence. What is actual practice diligence? Not just only in mind. Some people constantly talk in their hearts, also plan very well verbally. When talking with others, every day they talk, but in actual action, they do nothing. Tomorrow after tomorrow, some people, when speaking, sound very good. Wow, this person truly, if they really did it, national president, also no problem, prime minister, also no problem. But actually, when doing, they're very insignificant, and the things done are all messed up. There's such a situation, not like this. Doing any matter should have beginning and end, have order, arrangement, plan, goal, continuously do it. Practice also is continuously doing without hesitation. This is truly actual practice diligence. I think some individuals doing things are, after making aspiration at the beginning, continuously in the middle. I see some great masters here. Some things they do continuously for many years, over 10 years. For example, making books, running centers and academic exchanges, many things forever continuously persevering in doing. This is called actual practice diligence, non-retreating diligence. Before this matter is completely finished, we continuously don't retreat. Just like studying Buddhism, until Buddhahood, our practice doesn't retreat. Similarly, any matter in the world, as long as this matter isn't finished, hasn't reached a stage before, I continuously study, continuously do. The world often has the saying, live to old age, learn to old age. We also, many people, I see Taiwan is a bit different from other places. Many relatively older people are still working hard. Yesterday in our car, a tour guide said he's 60 years old, but still very good. At the airport, there's a 60-year-old person also working, very good. In Singapore also, there's a 70-year-old person who's still working, very vital. Actually, people can't, upon reaching 60 or 50, say, I'm now old, I'm now no good. It seems when oneself doesn't have mental strength, all behaviors can't be done. This also isn't very good. Should continuously, like among great Chan masters, there are so many centenarians. Before they leave the world, matters benefiting sentient beings are continuously done. This is very meaningful. This is called Diligence Paramita. Our diligence, according to Mahayana Buddhism's highest requirement, all joyful minds that practice virtue are called diligence. But usually, some of our diligence, now worldly people, also possibly have relatively great pressure. Many people all feel from morning to evening they toil bitterly. Actually, this is a kind of enjoyment in life. Don't think, I'm so suffering. The pressure is so great. More and more people think this way. Actually, as long as we survive in this world, we still should be diligent. If you don't continue being diligent, this isn't very good. People should have a kind of positivity. Using this positivity in studying Buddhism, that's even more a kind of success, accomplishment. This is called the fourth, diligence. The fifth is called concentration. Concentration is also divided into worldly meditation and transcendent meditation. Worldly meditation, perhaps in your place, many people especially care about meditation. Now, I hear some people go to Nepal, go to Germany, go to various places, go to Tibetan regions, start practicing meditation in enterprises, in universities, all are abiding in practice. Most of these are worldly meditation. What is worldly meditation? It's using a worldly method to calm one's own mind. In transcendent states, there are also some different levels. There's a meditation called clarity, bliss, non-thought meditation. Some abide in a state of light so comfortable, so clear and bright, feeling as if they've already realized. Some are in non-thought without any thoughts. You abide in non-thought for a very long time. Some are in a feeling of emptiness. Actually, all of these aren't very ultimate. Finally, they also have certain attachment. Then what's the highest? Focused on suchness. This is very difficult for many to reach. Free from all the erroneous views and illusory phenomena, truly realizing all phenomana's true suchness nature, abiding in such a state, abiding and arising from meditation are inseparable, non-dual. It's such a state. For many, this is relatively difficult. But now, people present perhaps want to reduce various burdens and pressures in their own lives. At this time, what's very needed? Everyone's mind should relax. If the mind relaxes, it should be of very great help for one's own life and work. Previously, there was a monastic in a monastery who meditated every day. At this gate, there was a person selling tofu. Because all the monastics in the monastery, when meditating, his business wasn't good. He was very unhappy. Later, he started going to find the abbot, saying, "You monks every day just sit in meditation. Exactly what are you doing?" The abbot told him, "Actually, this kind of meditation is a very good method. If you don't believe, you also try. Meditate yourself and see." Later, this tofu seller also himself started. Legs crossed, hands in mudra, eyes closed, contemplating, continuously like this, practicing Chan. In the Chan practice process, after a while, he was very happy. He said, "Too good, too good. This sitting meditation is truly very useful." The abbot asked him, "Tell me, did you attain some state?" He said, "Usually my mind is especially chaotic, often confused and wildly thinking, very painful, anxious. But just now when I sat down, it seems my mind had no discriminations, afflictions, or stray thoughts. Very pure, and sitting in such a pure state, sitting and sitting. Finally, I remembered 30 years ago, my neighbor's tofu buying money at my place still hasn't been paid. I've already figured it out. So sitting meditation is how good." He was very delighted. I think in Tibet there's also a similar metaphor, relatively similar to this metaphor, but Tibet doesn't produce tofu, so perhaps it's another kind of metaphor. Indeed, sometimes I also have such a feeling. Sitting when meditating, it seems things needing to be done sometimes are remembered. But this, of course, from meditation's perspective, isn't most ultimate. I just said it's worldly meditation. Worldly meditation, why do many people now like it? Some people, after quarreling with family, run to other places to do 7 days of Chan practice. Now, in Han regions, there are also many Chan weeks. Actually, many meditation centers and Buddhist centers' methods of adjustment for everyone indeed also are very needed in humanity's especially restless current society. We can practice during daytime about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Evening is also like this. At a certain time, the mind has already become habituated. After habituation, daytime's various scattered minds won't disturb you. Even if you encounter very serious matters, in a very short time you can adjust. For our lives, this is also very useful. There's also another, what is it? It's the wisdom paramita. This wisdom, I think, according to its original meaning, everyone present all knows. Actually, everyone is studying wisdom. Like the teachers and students of National Taiwan University in certain research areas, indeed also have very great accomplishment and contribution. Any scholar or wise person in the world, when studying in the process of seeking knowledge, all have countless hardships, difficulties, and suffering. Moreover, wisdom is obtained in a difficult path, not in very peaceful, happy, comfortable circumstances. Unless it's those with very perfect innate wisdom from past lives, indeed it also can't be done. Therefore, I think so-called wisdom, a very sharp mental state that can distinguish right from wrong, is called wisdom. This wisdom is divided into worldly wisdom and transcendent wisdom from two aspects. If we speak of transcendent wisdom, then it's relatively high. We should understand selflessness. I don't exist. My possessions, mamakara, also don't exist. The truth of all things and phenomena in the entire world, just as discussed in Madhyamaka theory, this is very necessary. This isn't just a Buddhist doctrine. I should say, if people present have studied some higher level quantum mechanics or psychology, at this time, one can't help but follow the Buddha of over 2,500 years ago, at that time, the second turning's wisdom. Because his wisdom, indeed also for humanity's many discoveries now, here already has answers. This isn't just a very few Buddhists starting to praise Buddhism's sect. It's not like this. In any field of yours, some transcendent research. In Buddhism, there can be varying degrees of answers. At this time, I think those present had best have a kind of worldly wisdom. If without worldly wisdom, perhaps now doing anything in the world, it's very difficult to accomplish. If without transcendent wisdom, liberation from samsara is also very difficult. I see some worldly scholars or wise ones in certain academic and research processes should obtain reputation, status, wealth, but in terms of self-liberation, indeed also a question mark. Our human life is very brief. In brief life, we create various kinds of karma. Finally, when one's own wisdom accumulation hasn't increased, indeed, whether to call them wise or foolish is also very hard to say. Our wisdom, when strictly divided, has hearing wisdom, contemplating wisdom, meditating wisdom, hearing, contemplating, meditating. This in Tibetan Buddhism is sequential, systematically analyzed. What is listening wisdom? Before relevant spiritual friends, gurus, teachers, you receive truth. This is called hearing wisdom. What is contemplating wisdom? Regarding the doctrines heard, you contemplate, debate, reflect. This is called contemplating wisdom. What is practice wisdom? These things you've analyzed, you still continue using in the world. This is called practice. There's a very good metaphor for this. For example, a yak eating grass. It's equivalent to hearing wisdom. After eating grass, it starts chewing the grass. Continuously chewing until soft. This is called contemplating wisdom. After eating, you should swallow, should gulp down. This is called practice wisdom. People eating meals are also like this. People first eat, after eating they chew. After chewing, you should swallow. Similarly, any knowledge, first understand. After first understanding, you yourself repeatedly contemplate it. After contemplating, you should again practice. For example, today we say all phenomena are impermanent. All phenomena, moment by moment, are changing. This, first from the teacher you hear. After hearing, you yourself should analyze. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are many analytical methods. Then slowly, just like we start, after getting food to the mouth, you should chew. Without chewing, if you want to swallow, I'm afraid it won't work. This is the analytical process. After passing, you should digest. If you don't digest, now here some have academic spirit. just studying a bit in theory, actually not a bit of cultivation. Including some Buddhists, including some monastics' written books, currently also have some influence. What influence? I dare not say they completely have no practice, but at least also in Buddhism's some, including renunciation, mind, bodhicitta, and the three realms of samsara's principles. Indeed, the practice of Buddhist principles hasn't reached the point. Precisely because it hasn't reached the point, the path taught to posterity still has flaws. Many people, when entering your path, truthfully, perhaps these people have other secret intent. That's another matter. If they are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifesting in someone's form, then expounding some other principles, then I won't speak about it. Besides this, generally from appearances, indeed haven't combined listening, contemplating, practicing. Sometimes now propagating Buddhism, whether you're a layperson or a monk, also has certain limitations. Therefore, we should seek the most supreme, highest wisdom. Of course, such wisdom I can't possibly discuss with everyone today. I hope here Taiwan also has other schools, some talents, especially many Tibetan Buddhism's great masters. If in language you have no difficulty, I feel, when having such virtuous friends at one's side, you yourself should also seek Dharma. I asked, they said previously many Buddhists were relatively formalistic, including some university professors and students all had very good faith. But such faith wasn't faith accompanying wisdom. Faith has wise faith and blind faith. What is blind faith? Not knowing the meaning within. Why should you have faith in Buddha? Why should you have faith in the rebirth doctrine? Just blindly respecting or revering. This is called blind faith. There's a kind called wise faith. What is wise faith? If you want to believe in this, if you want to trust this, you must have a kind of wisdom premise to maintain. This is called wise faith. So I hear now many university teachers and students, other various social circles, now practice and faith are elevated one level. Why? Many people all like analysis. It's not just when others slander, yes, 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 slander. Others say this teacher is very good. Oh, yes, 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 this teacher is very good. Not like this. Should be principled. Oneself also understands these principles. At this time, we have wisdom. We have worldly wisdom. Through worldly wisdom, I believe we'll obtain transcendent wisdom. In sum, relying on the above 6 paramitas to tame our own minds, slowly change ourselves. Slowly changing ourselves, I think we are, after all, humans with very high intelligence. Compared with other animals, we have superior conditions. In one's own mind, we'll definitely obtain peace, tranquility, happiness, even some animals. For example, I recently heard that in Australia, the flies, because Australia, the entire city's sanitation is also done very well, humans also reside relatively few. For such reasons, the flies there often can't find feces and garbage. They often go into flowers to transmit pollen on pistils. So slowly, not only through scientists' microscope observations, viruses and bacteria on their bodies, all these are gone. Even their entire bodies have turned golden. Moreover, the very annoying buzzing sound they originally made is all gone. They've become very lovable companions to humans. Since through natural environment forcibly and gradually habituating, letting these also become kind, become beautiful, I think our human minds can even more be changed. Actually, our minds are the prime mover of changing everything. Relying on it can change, like a piece of iron, it can become an iron ball, also can be made into needles, also can be made into other tools. A piece of land, it can build a flower garden, can also build a garbage pit, anything. This mind of ours can also practice virtue, letting it be happy in this life, can also cultivate evil dharmas, suffering also in this life. Suffering in this life may go to prison, in jail, next life in hell. But those cultivating virtue, in this life successful in career, healthy body and mind, all perfection. Next life in Sukhavati, Pure Land and other pure lands can enjoy all great bliss. I believe relying on our minds change, the world can also change. Thank you all.